Holy moly, kids. I don't know where to start. Wow. That was the most eventful commercial break in my 32 years of children's programming here at Miss Pipper's Funhouse. During the break, it came to light that Perry, the pilot, had tweeted in support of Policeman Bill, which apparently made some of our junior staffers feel unsafe. So I guess we're going to say goodbye to Perry, the pilot. Yeah, there he goes. Oh man, this is happening so fast. Then amidst that chaos, Randy Panda produced some photos of Miss Pipper dressed as Diana Ross at a Halloween party in 1992. I guess she took some liberties with makeup, so Miss Pipper's taking a little vacation, hopefully temporary. This is her fun house, after all. And just so you know, Mr. Morrison shut down his general store because some of the mommies on Pumpernickel Boulevard accused him of profiting on the backs of the marginalized. So he said he was too old for this stuff, and he closed the shop and called it quits. So that kind of leaves me, Scientist Steve, with the show to handle. And I'll be honest, I'm not willing to lie to you kids about immutable biological character. You're listening to Questionable Material, produced in New York by Jack Helmuth and Brian Sack. QMpodcast.com. Centers for Disease Control.
Hi, I was wondering about the coupon you guys were offering today.
Yeah, we have a coupon. It is a buy one mask, get one mask free. So you can have two masks that you can wear at the same time, which makes the masks work much better. The efficacy is much higher.
That's interesting.
And that's why what we're saying is you should wear a mask, a single mask.
Yeah, no, we still do that, but
Why?
Because you guys had told me to do so.
We're recommending to not even bother wearing masks because it's just the virus is so small, and until it gets bigger and more catchable, the masks don't really help.
Are we talking about the COVID virus?
Yes, we are. This COVID-19, which is very contagious. So don't purchase any masks. You don't need to wear them. They don't work. And that's why you need two.
Sometimes it feels like you give me very different advice.
Thank you. Now, remember, you wear three, two on the front, one on the back.
Right.
Wear 6 to 12 masks. If you have that many masks on, people will socially distance themselves from you and give you a wide berth.
You're the CDC, right?
Yes.
There's a long pause. Was there, did my cell phone break up, or why did you pause so long?
I mean, I technically work at the CDC as a janitor. It's after hours. The phone rang. I answered it, and I kind of went with what I remember them saying.
Why are you answering the phone?
The phone rang, and I thought here was an opportunity for me to do some good in the world by letting people know they should or shouldn't wear a mask.
Okay. I feel like you may not be all that different than the regular person who answers the phone.
Now, this is Dr. Fauci.
So, Brian, did you have a nice Valentine's Day?
I did. Did you?
Huge relief. I did. My son, who's 9 years old.
Not a fan.
I know you're not a fan. I mean, he tries his best. I mean,
yeah, it's not good enough.
Boy.
Yeah, whatever. You say that. I see something different.
What do you see in him?
I mean, it's kind of demonic, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he's just sort of a harmless little guy. Just like plays video games and likes his friends. Yeah,
I like his friends.
Okay, all right.
Just not a fan of him.
Okay, I'm not gonna argue that.
Let's
further.
agree to disagree.
Yeah,
you love him.
Best.
It sickens me.
He sickens you?
Oh my God, yeah.
Man, you're really passionate about this kid.
Yeah, I mean that explains the bathroom.
Well, I don't understand the bathroom comment.
Well, there's pictures of him all over the bathroom with his just so that when I am brushing my teeth, I get so angry and agitated that I really scrub the enamel on my teeth so well. It looks like I just went to the dentist every day.
I'm looking at, we're on a video call right now, and your teeth are they're almost blinding.
Yeah, that's because I loathe your child so much that when I see his picture hanging above the mirror in the bathroom, I am such an aggressive brusher that there's not even the tiniest bit of plaque on my teeth. And I'm a coffee drinker. Yeah. I like red wine.
And you have blueberry paste toothpaste, right?
I use blueberry paste. I don't even use fluoride. I use the antioxidant properties, but blueness of blueberries that should stain my teeth blue. And I'm such an aggressive brusher because of your son's picture that my teeth people call me moon face. That's how bright it is.
You're looking at my son's picture.
Yeah.
Like, what about when you're using other facilities within your bathroom? Like, let's say when you're, maybe defecating.
Well, we had some problems. The toilet's broken now. So we just go directly to the hole in the floor.
Gosh, what happened?
The toilet shattered. There was such extreme force exerted upon it that the ceramics gave. And I found myself sitting on the floor. And it was hideous. And it just made me hate your child even more.
Because you took such an angry dump that it shot out like a missile and destroyed your toilet.
Exactly. It was worse than an M80.
God, with this poor kid.
Yeah.
Man, and how many pictures, and you have pictures of him, like, not just in the bathroom, all around the house?
I do, yep.
How does it affect things in the kitchen?
Well, in the kitchen, I diced vegetables so small with such aggression. And my wife will be like, what happened to that red pepper you were supposed to cut up? And I'm like, it's right there. But I cut it up in such a fury that the atoms split.
Oh my gosh. You hate this kid so much.
Yeah, I do.
What and you said you have a nice framed picture of him hugging his cat by your bedside?
I do, yeah.
Which normally, I don't want my friends having a picture of my 9-year-old son by their bedside, but you have one. How does that affect whatever goes on in your bedroom?
Well, I had it. I had it made into a canvas photo, which I then taped to a boxing ball, and I punch it for 20 to 30 minutes straight, and then I'm so exhausted I collapse and have the deepest sleep you can ever imagine.
That's nice.
Every night.
That is so nice.
Yeah. Well, my wife doesn't agree because it wakes her up.
Oh, so you do this? You do this after she's asleep?
Yeah, because usually she goes to bed first, and then I'll climb in, an hour or hour and a half later, and then just start wailing on that photo of your son, and screaming. I mean, it's the screaming that really wakes her. Obviously, the punching doesn't help, but it's the yelling, it's the cursing. And then I fall asleep and I sleep soundly, and she tends to be wired for another 30 to 40 minutes.
Well, I imagine that can't be a nice thing to hear as when you're startled awake.
Yeah. Well, like the other night she was dreaming of Russell Crowe, and I woke her, and then she fell asleep and dreamt about Trevor Noah.
Well, I mean, at least she's getting thinner.
She's not getting thinner, because she has a picture of your son on the refrigerator.
Oh no.
And when she sees that, she'll say, like, I'm just going to eat myself to death, and then just whips open the refrigerator and starts eating everything in there.
What? So she hates him too?
Oh my God. Yeah. With a passion.
Jesus, poor kid. Well, your wife's tiny. She probably weighs 110 pounds. What?
And she's 240 now. And it's because, we were going to have some friends over, and she had 4 loaves of this wonderful bread from a nearby bakery. And then she saw the picture of your son on the refrigerator, and those loaves of bread were gone in about 12 minutes.
Tiny little Polish woman.
Yeah. Formerly tiny. And that's one of the reasons I hate your son. He compelled my wife to eat herself. She's immobile. She can't move.
And how many pounds did you say she was?
She's now 310 since we've been talking.
No.
Yeah, I can hear her downstairs. She's cursing and she won't stop eating.
Oh my gosh.
The coffee table, she's pulled up to the sofa and it's now a belly table. She lies on the sofa and she rests her stomach on the coffee table.
Just because she's so angry?
Yeah, she loathes your son. And I obviously I understand it. Most of the people around here understand it. They've seen the billboards. They've seen the locally produced television commercials.
What you bought a billboard about my son?
Yeah.
What does the billboard do or say? What?
It just says hateable POS. No? Question mark.
You spent money to get a billboard just saying that my son is a hateable POS?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's unusual.
Oh, you don't know? Okay, I guess not. And what are the local TV commercials? You're running ads, like attack ads against my son?
They're not really attack ads. They start off looking like a low budget furniture ad.
Okay.
For like a local furniture chain. And then I'm talking about a reclining sofa that has a built-in cooler. But then in the last 8 seconds of the commercial, I just turn to the camera and I say, your son is a hateable POS. And then his picture comes up. And it really kind of catches people by surprise.
Yeah, it would be surprising if you're talking about the layaway options for this fine recliner, and then you interrupt yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, it's the talk of the town, quite honestly. I've become a little bit famous.
Man alive.
Yeah.
And how does having some pictures of my son affect your romantic life in the bedroom?
Well, my wife is triple pregnant.
What does triple pregnant mean, and how does it happen?
I get so infuriated that I triple impregnated her.
Now, are doctors calling it triplets?
Technically, no, because I was so angry that I managed to fertilize 3 different eggs. Like it really went up.
Are they all going to come out the same age?
They went up the over. Well, it just depends. It's a big mess because like they're fertilized eggs in different part of the body because everything got displaced.
Because you smashed your wife so hard
because of the fury.
You were so angry.
Yeah, because I was punching my canvas boxing ball.
Okay.
Most people say punching bag. I say boxing ball.
Yeah. As any super athletic boxing and MMA fan would.
Yeah.
Quick question.
Sure.
For my Christmas card, I sent out a picture to some of our friends, a picture of my daughter. What did you do that, and how's that affected things?
I sent a picture of your son out. And
you sent a picture of my son out?
Yeah, to my friends list, and it just said, Merry Christmas from the family. What do you think about this hateable POS? And then inside, it was one of these photo gallery cards and just had the same picture of him, but I just, I drew a Hitler mustache on him on one and a Stalin mustache on him on the other one and a Mao no mustache. I just kind of thinned out his hair and made him fatter.
Does he look like your wife now?
A little bit, yeah, without the belly table.
No, but what about the picture of my daughter that I sent to you? How has that affected things? My sweet little 8-year-old daughter, we sent out her with the dog. He had a picture of the cat and she had the picture of the dog. And I sent that out. Has that affected any that, because you like her, don't you?
Well, I mean, I like her in the sense that I took that picture and I sent it to human traffickers.
No, that's people who do human trafficking for a living, not like authorities who try and stop it.
Right. No, I deliberately found human traffickers who operate out of Jalisco, Mexico. And I sent it to them and I used perfect Spanish. I went to Google Translate to make sure I got everything right. And I just said, make sure she's next. And I gave the address and her school information and everything they'd need to know.
Huh.
Unrelated. She's got a flower delivery tomorrow.
Okay.
In honor of Only Daughters Day. ODD.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
There's a holiday for everything these days.
So if you just have her ready at 10 a.m. tomorrow to just answer the knock on the door and collect her flowers, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, Brian, thanks, man. Especially considering you seem to hate her so much.
No, she's great.
That began with me wanting to tell you a very brief story about my son.
Oh, I'd love to hear it. Great guy.
Yeah, no, you're a fan. So, my son on Valentine's Day, now that he's 9, he's a 10 next month, or will be if he survives whatever you have coming. He's 9, and I guess is becoming aware of some more adult things. I don't know if it's because he now has a computer for online learning, but he asked my wife on Valentine's Day, "Mommy, are you and Daddy going to have sex tonight?"
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and of course,
The answer is no.
well, yeah, I would be on 364 other days of the year.
Oh.
But this time it happened to be yes. And that's what she said. She told him the truth.
Really?
Like, he could have asked any other day of the year, and she would have been like, no, I'm going to tell your father that we will, but then I'll, fall asleep, or then I'll just change my mind and, prove myself to be a liar, whatever other truthful thing she would say to the child. But she chose to be true on the day that we were going to do it.
So she told your kid the truth.
And she told him the truth.
Interesting. I guess, okay.
Now, you're a child sex therapist. Do I remember that right? That you're a licensed sex therapist for, to be able to discuss things with kids?
Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Where'd you get your license?
Well, I got my license from the Post.
The New York Post?
No, the cereal company. So they had this little promotion way back when you just filled out in the back of the box. And if you had enough box tops, you could get a degree of your choosing.
Wow.
And, the more box tops, the better the degree. I was hoping for a doctorate, but I just couldn't eat that much Raisin Bran. So
Right.
I'm a master's.
Man, well, it's too bad with your wife eating all that sugared cereal these days.
Yeah. No,
You could have really.
Yeah, I could have cleaned house. I could have been a doctor.
Yeah, boy, that's too bad. Well, I would love some advice on sort of how to talk about the birds and the bees with kids.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if maybe our listeners would find that useful as well, if they have sort of a young family. What sort of advice do you have for parents? When is the right age to bring it up? My wife may have done it too early.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all policy when it comes to the kid. It really, each kid is different. They have different levels of maturity and different levels of understanding. They have different websites they're familiar with. Your son might be familiar with Pornhub or xvideos.com or xnxx.com or xhamster.com or pornvillage.com or hottotrot.com. There could be a variety of websites with which he's familiar, or he might be completely innocent and he might be still using Roblox.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about some of those other learning websites. I know Roblox he plays.
Yeah. So it depends on the question they ask you.
Okay.
For example, and there are different ways you can handle it. If you don't want to continue the line of questioning, then you need to kind of cut it off at the pass and maybe talk about discussing it later. Kind of like Jen Psaki, the head of communications for President Biden. You can say,
Sure.
You know what, let's just circle around and talk about this later.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
I'm going to look at my material and we'll circle back to this later. That means I don't have an answer for you right now. Let's kick the can down the road, as it were. In my case, when my son came to me, he was actually your son's age, 10 years old. And he said, Daddy, do you and Mommy have sex? Do you do it? And, I looked at him and I smiled and I put a bag over his head and I turned him around 14 times and I counted out loud every single time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I took the bag off his head and he was dizzy and he stumbled around his room, kind of fell down, got back up. And I said, if you ask me that question again, the bag goes back on, and the turning never stops.
That's a really good form of child abuse because, it leaves no marks and no one would believe it.
Well, it does leave marks if they stumble out of the bedroom and then fall down the stairs.
Yeah, I guess that could happen.
Very disoriented. But it does kind of end that line of questioning. It moves them on to a different subject. Like, Daddy, I'm hungry. Daddy, why didn't you make breakfast? It's nighttime now. Daddy, what is that game you're playing? It's cyberpunk and it's glitchy.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one approach.
Yeah, that's one approach. Or you can do the honest approach.
Okay. Because, all right. So that you did the bag approach. That was your family's, at least for one of your sons. Now, what's the honest approach? Well,
the honest approach is like, son, when a mommy and a daddy love one another, they can do stuff like that. And sure, maybe after several years, it gets a little bit kind of a grind. And that's why, there are apps, and there are apps to invite 3 or 4 people over the house to spice things up, to make things more exciting. Because, sometimes, think about Bert and Ernie. They've been living together for so long. They know each other. It's kind of not exciting anymore. But what if they could invite Oscar the Grouch over and Snuffleupagus and maybe Gonzo or Fozzie Bear, and then things are more interesting, more intimate.
Yeah. Well, what happens when Mr. Snuffleupagus gets to the room?
Well, I mean, his trunk is it's a mouthful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. So, and that's the examples you use with a child.
That is the Sesame Street example.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you use with your other child.
Yeah, that's what I use with the other child.
Okay. And you established that Bert and Ernie were definitely a thing.
I said that Ernie had lady parts to make it more understandable for the kid.
Well, it's okay that Bert and Ernie get it on.
Not according to the holy book I read.
Oh, wait, which is what?
The Super Koran.
I've heard of the Koran. What's the Super Koran?
It's 100 times more violent. If you thought the Koran was conservative, this is just nuts.
What are some of the other rules in the Super Koran?
No winking.
No winking?
Yeah.
Oh.
Do a wink, lose your dink. That's it rhymes. There's a lot of rhymes in the Super Koran.
It's weird that any Koran, super or regular, would have the word dink in it, the English word dink.
Yeah. I mean, it traces back to the year, 800.
Man, what are some other tenets of the Super Koran that people need to watch out for? Because, once something like this is sort of introduced, it catches on like wildfire, any sort of religious thing like this.
Yeah.
What are some other things people need to be cautious of?
Well, one of the verses in there is, if you overeat, you're going to be beat. Muhammad was really big on portion control.
I didn't know that.
It was a huge thing with him. Yeah, it didn't make it into the regular Quran, but the Super Quran, there's a whole chapter on portion control.
Really? Because I like the Muslim faith, actually, and I didn't know this.
Yes. Yeah, there's a huge chapter on portion control. And he really gets into fine details about, the number of oats you're allowed to eat, the number of berries you're allowed to pick. And the idea was, there had to be enough food for everybody. So you overeat, you're going to get beat.
Now, why was Muhammad rhyming so much?
He loved rhyming. He would say stuff like Aisha's Migaisha, he'd say, I'm feeling all right. I'm going to smite. Like there's a lot of, he even made like violent verses just sound cool.
Yeah. And he had that one great phrase about staying faithful, how women should stay faithful to their husbands. And it rhymed like heck. Do you remember what that one was?
You hump another guy, going to make you die.
Man, real,
He loved rhyming.
real street talk. Yeah, we loved rhyme, and really, I'm so glad we had this sex talk. So, hey, Brian.
Yep.
You okay?
Yeah. What? You're asking me what?
Well, I'm trying to start a bit. If it's a bad time for you,
no, it's fine.
Maybe I won't do it.
No, I blocked out this time for podcasting, so fine. Just give me come on, make it funny.
Oh, okay. All right, here we go. Now, are you familiar, Brian, with the Snyder cut of the Justice League movie?
I am not.
Okay, so Zack Snyder, the director of the Justice League movie, had to sort of stop midway through shooting, I think through a family a tragedy or something like that. He had to stop, and then Joss Whedon had to come on and finish up the shoot, finish up the movie, and then edit it. And when it came out and sucked major balls, everyone was really angry. Everyone was super excited for this movie to be good. Everyone wanted a Justice League movie, and it really was terrible.
Just to refresh my memory, because of course I know what you're talking about. The Justice League movie is superheroes? Yeah,
it was. So it's Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and The Flash and maybe one or two others together.
Okay.
Coming together. So that's a big moment in cinema, right? For comic book fans. You get all these, instead of these standalone movies, all of a sudden all these characters are together. And so that's a big deal.
Okay.
So major people were so excited for this movie, and it was not good. It stunk. And everyone sort of blamed the fact that Zack Snyder wasn't able to finish his vision.
Right.
Even though Zack Snyder's terrible. That it must be because he didn't finish his vision, and that if only a Snyder cut, and then rumors began that there was a Snyder cut that existed somewhere.
Yes.
And the rumors persisted so much that HBO Max said, okay, fine, we'll spend a few bucks to let Zack Snyder re-edit the movie and shoot some new scenes or add footage that was cut out.
Right.
And there's a Snyder cut of the Justice League movie now coming out.
Yes, there is.
Sort of and that's, yes, of course, and it's got me thinking this is the beginning of a trend. And you're a film buff and you know all these things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was wondering if you could tell us about some of the other special cuts that are coming out soon.
Absolutely. Sure. Love to.
So there's the special new director's cut of Sophie's Choice.
Yes.
So so they're re-editing it and shooting some new scenes and because people, even though it's kind of a beloved classic movie, they're trying to fix it and make it even better.
Right.
So what's the new director's cut of Sophie's Choice?
Well, she basically Sophie had been to a fertility clinic. So she actually has quintuplets. And so she now has 5 children. And so now the decision's even worse, right? Because she's got to pick one of the 5. It's not even an either or. It's one of the 5. And so she decides to hold what I'd call an American Idol kind of a competition where the children compete in singing and there's judges. There are special appearances by some celebrities who come in and kind of help Sophie make her choice. Gordon Ramsay, celebrity chef, comes in and he's one of the judges. It's much more dramatic. There's more tension because you think, okay, this one's got a fantastic voice. This one really stumbled singing the Star-Spangled Banner. And so maybe, and I don't want to give away the ending.
Please.
She chooses Squeaky.
Which one is Squeaky?
Squeaky is the number 3 child.
Oh, and all this happens right on the train platform?
Yes.
Whew. So they empty the train and then they set up a stage and a platform and they fly in guests and the whole 9 yards right there?
Yep. They have the guests there. They set up a little table with, Gordon Ramsay and Emerald Lagasse. For some reason they went with a chef theme.
Yeah, that's so strange for a basic singing competition.
Yeah, for a singing competition. But yeah, and the kids put on a lovely show right there and then, and it's kind of who's going to go, and it's a beautiful movie. It's a sad movie, obviously, because now there's more repercussions.
Yeah.
She's much more traumatized now because she's now, she's had to choose 1 out of 5.
So how does this affect her when she, moves back to Brooklyn, and has to live with her guilt? How does that sort of change? Does it magnify her guilt even more?
It does. And she tries to soothe her pain with fentanyl.
That feels like a very modern take.
Yeah. I mean, she befriends Boswell, the fentanyl dealer, and, and they have their own adventures.
Oh gosh.
And so there's more choices to be made later on in the film.
Wow. So it's really Sophie's choices.
It's Sophie's choice. Like there's a really memorable scene where they're in the supermarket and she sees there's Frosted Flakes, mm-hmm. and then and the supermarket version, which is just called sugar chips. And so she's like Frosted Flakes, sugar chips, and the camera goes back and forth. Frosted Flakes, sugar chips, Frosted Flakes, sugar chips. She can't decide. And you see the tears well up in her eyes. She's not quite sure what to do. And so she gives up on that and goes for the fruit circles.
And what happens to the 2 boxes that she doesn't choose?
They are killed.
What? This poor woman.
Yeah. I mean, she sees coming down the aisle 2 Nazis, and she just takes her shopping cart and bolts out of there and goes to the self-service checkout. And she sees the 2 boxes of sugar chips and Frosted Flakes taken out.
In 1947 Brooklyn,
yep.
There are Nazis walking around supermarkets.
Yeah, there was a weird exchange program, was part of the Marshall Plan. It was kind of tucked in, kind of where you tuck in like a minimum wage bill inside like an emergency subsidy bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was like tucked in the Marshall Plan that allowed a bunch of Nazis to work in grocery stores in Brooklyn. Not the best idea, but Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn. So there's the Pakula version of Sophie's Choice for the director, Alan J. Pakula. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that she has some adventures with Boswell, or fentanyl dealer.
Yeah.
Can you just give me just one very quick adventure they have?
Yeah, well, there's they go to Coney Island, which of course has the coaster, the famous coaster.
Yeah.
And and they're just about, I mean, it can be, she's terrified of roller coasters. She doesn't like anything on tracks. And you okay?
Sure.
And
I'm sorry.
So she's about to take off on the roller coaster, sitting next to Boswell. They're holding hands, and then the fentanyl kicks in and she just falls asleep. So it's kind of a metaphor for drugs helping her overcome her fears.
Right.
And pain.
Right.
Sophie's Choice.
Yeah. Sophie's Choice. Okay. Well, boy, I can't wait to, when that drops, that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it in the theaters.
Yeah. No, me too. So I know there's, I'm very excited about this. The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Had 2 directors, Victor Fleming, of course, and George Cukor. But we'll call it the Fleming version of Wizard of Oz is coming out. I mean, first of all, that movie came out in 1939. Yeah. It's amazing to me that the director is still around to make a cut.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was one of those lucky people who got trapped in an industrial freezer.
How fortunate.
Yeah. So he was an avid maker of ice cream. In his spare time, and he was putting it away, and then the door closed on his industrial freezer. Mm-hmm. And right at the same time that Pablo, who was his kitchen manager, passed away. And so he froze in the freezer and was only discovered about 10 years ago.
Gosh, you'd think that would have made the news.
Yeah, it was a big news cycle. And so he was thawed out, and he was eager to get back behind the lens, as he called it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, with his 2 loves being cinema and ice cream.
Yeah.
So what's the Fleming cut of a Wizard of Oz? What I can't wait to hear all the changes that the director initially wanted to have in the movie that of course the rigid studio wouldn't let him have.
Well, it's not follow the yellow brick road. Obviously, it's follow the rocky road because there's an ice cream motif running through the film.
Oh, that sounds bad. I'm gonna say. First reviews are in and they're not looking good. Okay, what other changes can we look forward to?
The Lollipop Guild always made him a little uncomfortable.
Sure. Why?
He didn't like small people.
That's the answer. Yep.
And so they went the opposite route, and it's the Harlem Globetrotters.
It's too bad you had a stroke in the middle of that joke. So,
you know when you're trying to say a word and then your mouth turns off?
Yeah, you do. So the Munchkins are now nothing but Harlem Globetrotters.
Harlem Globetrotters.
That's a big change.
Yeah, but
literally,
it's much more interesting because they do a lot of basketball tricks as the Dorothy is walking down the Rocky Road.
Yeah. Rocky Road ice cream.
Yeah, as the Harlemville Globetrotters. Did I say Harlemville?
Yeah, the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah, as the Harlem Globetrotters and Dorothy and Toto and the Tin Person, and because the Tin Person doesn't have any gender ascribed to him.
Of course.
If there was a Tin Man, there'd obviously be a metallic penis of some sort.
Yep.
And that's clearly not visible.
So this isn't Fleming kowtowing to today's pressures. This is just something he believed all along initially, is that clearly there's no genitalia here. Why are we calling him a Tin Man?
Yeah.
So Dorothy, the Harlem Globetrotters, and the regular crew are walking down the Rocky Road.
Yeah. Well, I guess, also more importantly, when the house lands, there's no dead witch.
Oh.
Because
that's a big change. Why?
Well, because it was seen as being anti-witch. And they were concerned that it might motivate people to throw houses on witches.
What's wrong with people?
So that is taken out. And now she's just kind of whacked on the head. Mm-hmm. She kind of stumbles off and she loses her memory and doesn't realize she's a witch.
Oh.
So that's why she's still alive, but she's no longer a threat.
Right. And then she goes off to do charity work or something.
Exactly.
That's nice. And there's a big change to the ending, to the big reveal of the Wizard of Oz, though, that you say a lot of the movie sort of then stays in place, but there's the big change at the end.
Yeah. She pulls the curtain open and it's two guys going at it.
Why? What does that say or show?
The director had a vision that had been inspired partly by methadone, and that was his vision. It's no longer a solitary old man behind a green curtain. Mm-hmm. It is two twinks.
It's a director's medium. They're allowed to make these changes.
Yep.
Man, well, that's a jarring. That's some jarring news.
Yeah, and it's actually he's changed it. It's the Wizard of Oz, but it's AWWS because there's a lot of cute puppy stuff in there with Toto.
Oh, okay. The Wizard of Oz. All right, fair enough. And then the last one I want to ask you about, because you're really good with this.
I am.
Classic. I can't believe they're releasing a director's cut of this, but Psycho. So what's the Hitchcock? I guess he cut this before he died, and only now that it's popular, are they going to release it? What's the Hitchcock cut of Psycho?
It's maximizing its most famous scene.
Oh, okay.
So the shower scene, of course.
Yeah, of course.
That's the part of the film that got the most response from everybody. He turned the shower scene into its own independent movie.
What?
So she's just being stabbed for 2 hours.
I mean, that's a famous scene. It's one of the most famous scenes in movie history, but it's only about an 8-second scene.
Yeah. Well, he was thinking if that 8 seconds made this film a legend, what happens if you make it 2 hours?
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, by the end, there's nothing left for her to even grab onto the shower curtain and fall down. Everything went down the drain.
Man, that's a lot.
And then he turns to the camera and says, "That's gotta hurt." So there's like a little levity to the end.
That's the final moment of the movie?
Yeah.
So we don't even meet Mother.
No.
Oh, wow.
It's just more of a lesson about don't steal from people. Because Janet Leigh, stole, and that's why she's dead. It's in the Super Koran.
Right. So we're sympathetic with Anthony Perkins.
Yes. Don't steal from your employer or Anthony Perkins will destroy you. That was questionable material. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Make sure to review the podcast. Make sure to visit qmpodcast.com.